Hello.
Hey there.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay, so a quick sound check before we start. So can you see me?
Yep, I can see you.
So and we can see you too and can be more happy about it. So let us welcome our viewers right now. We have already one here, Elver Casing. So before starting that, first of all, let's welcome our superstar Lauren Lesley over here, the founder of Lauren Lesley Design Studios of from Georgia, USA. So now she's here with us to share some insights about how to have your own surface pattern design style in just 90 days. That sounds magical, and indeed it is. So before we delve deeper into this, let's start with a presentation about what we are and who we are actually, a print shop. So I'll hold on for a little couple of seconds more. So guys, here we are. We are print shop right now. And what are we? We are an initiative by Designhill where any artist can create any of the artwork and share it on different products. And the best part of it is totally free of cost. We can create your designs and earn on commission basis. And about Design Hill, the parent company, it is the world's leading design marketplace where you can find all creative solutions regarding your industry and everything. With our community hailing for more than 140,000 designers across the world and spanning through 200 countries. And we are actually a little famous about it. Let's be a little proud about it. And we are featured in Forbes, TNW, in Huffington Post, and lots of other big shot business magazines. And we have been awarded Entrepreneur of the Year award by Entrepreneur Magazine, of course. And then that's all about us. And before starting, now let's welcome Lauren again. And Lauren, now you are here. So Lauren, you can
Hi,
take over now.
everyone. So glad you're here in the webinar. Oh,
Yeah, you can.
hi, everyone. So glad you're here in the webinar. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm going to share my screen real quick and we'll get started. Okay, so this webinar is all about how to find your art style in 90 days or less. So hey everyone, I'm Lauren of Lauren Lesley Studio, and today I'm going to teach you how to find your own original art style. By the end of this webinar, you will have a clear, actionable strategy for how to develop your own art style in 90 days or less. So I have a few bonuses for you, so make sure you stay till the end to get those. So my designs have sold in places like Anthropologie. I worked as a textile designer for 7 years for a manufacturer in Georgia in the US. So here are some of my designs that have sold in Anthropologie, and one of my rug designs also was featured on West Elm's Instagram with over 20,000 likes, which is super exciting. And some of my outdoor rug designs have also
Uh,
sold at Target.
Lauren, actually, I have to stop you a little for here. I guess we are having no technical issues right now, so the screen is not visible. Give us 1 second, and we'll be back. We'll be back live in 5 seconds. Just give
Yeah,
us.
sure.
Lauren, can you hear me again? Can you
Yeah, I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Can
Yeah,
you hear
you're
me?
good too.
Okay, ready to go? Let me know when you're ready and I'll get back started again.
So let's refresh a little bit and we'll be back right now.
Say hi, Luna. Say hi to everyone.
So here we are back.
Okay, cool.
So Lauren, we are good to go, and there are a lot of questions actually already around here. People are actually very excited. There are lots of hellos for you, lots of hellos and highs.
Okay, cool. So I'll dive back in then.
Yeah.
Okay. So here are some of my outdoor rug designs that have also sold at Target, which is a dream come true. But it didn't always start out that way. So here I am as a little girl coloring in my coloring book. So this is just kind of a humble reminder that we all have to start somewhere. And here I am as a BFA painting major in college. So I wasn't always a textile designer. This is me doing a lot of oil paintings and fine art. And my first big girl job was actually at a t-shirt company. So, you know, there's a lot of different paths to kind of finding your own place when you are doing your own art or becoming a designer. So yeah, my first job was as a t-shirt designer, and I did that for 4 years. And then I finally became a textile designer, which is where I really feel the most at home. It really suits me the best. And I worked as a rug designer for about 7 years. So here's me also like staging some of the room scenes that we did in the rug and the pillows I designed in this scene. And here's another shot there. And now I am working as an independent designer under my own brand, Lauren Lesley Studio. And this is me showing at Blueprint Show back in May in New York, which is a trade show for surface pattern designers and textile designers. But you may be wondering, like, I quit my full-time job. I moved to Alabama actually with my husband because he had a new job opportunity. So Blueprint Show was coming up in May. So I realized that I had about 3 months before, you know, I had to get everything printed and whatnot from February, March, and April to really develop my own art style so that I could go to the trade show in May. And so you might be thinking, do I really even need my own art style? And my answer is not necessarily if your goal is to work for a company. But if you want to work for yourself, then definitely, yes, you do need your own art style. To be an independent artist, you need your own original style that can be recognizable anywhere. Now, if you're currently working for a company, you might be thinking, I want to work for myself, but I can do any style, so it's really hard to narrow down what is my style. And you might be thinking, do I need my own style before I quit my full-time job? Like if you're wanting to work for yourself and you're kind of thinking, well, when do I take the leap? You know, do I need to develop my own art style first? Or you might be thinking, do I need a quote unquote brand for marketing purposes? Do I need to brand myself as an artist? And my answer to all these questions is yes, yes, and yes. So I love giving this example of Dollar Shave Club because they have a really brilliant marketing. So I bring up this example because they're selling a very boring product, which is just razors. They're selling razors every month, but they've done such a great job with their advertising and their marketing that their brand is really known anywhere. So I give this example because it's really just a good example for how to brand yourself as an artist. Not that you want to be exactly like Dollar Shave Club, but just so that you can be unique and different from everyone else in the industry. So how do you find your own art style in 90 days? Well, step one is to do your design and art research. The first step of figuring out your own art style is just to first figure out what you actually like. This is your opportunity to research all kinds of different art and design styles. And so you need to really narrow down and figure out what type of art you actually gravitate to. Maybe you are drawn to styles that are more modern. Maybe you are more of a traditional artist. Maybe you have a more bohemian or global vibe. You might be more interested in vintage looks, or you might be, drawn to more contemporary art. You might be a very casual artist and your style is just very livable and very easygoing. Or you might be more into kind of urban scenes and like, I don't know, graffiti or something more like Urban Outfitters, like if you thought of them as an example. Or you might be into a more rustic style. If you're familiar with Joanna Gaines, she has a very rustic style. So if you had to pick a retailer that represented your style, who would it be? Create a list of websites and retailers that inspire you. Some of my go-tos that I love to research for inspiration include Vogue's website from Vogue magazine, Pinterest, of course. Bloglovin is where I follow a lot of different blogs and kind of keep track of all the blogs that I follow. Print and Pattern blog is also a really, really great one if you are interested in surface pattern design. Apartment Therapy is a great one if you're interested in home decor. Pattern Curator is another great source for trends and colors. Print Fresh is another great one, and some retailers that I love to go to for inspiration are Anthropologie and Target. So once you have your list, take a minute to write down some common characteristics that you're finding with some of these things that really inspire you. Are you seeing like lots of organic lines or maybe geometric shapes? Does the artwork have kind of a young and fresh vibe, or maybe it has instead a sense of timelessness and it's very classic? Do you feel hyped up or like energized by some of your things that you're pulling, or do you maybe have like a very wistful sense of nostalgia? Is it kind of whimsical? Or are you gravitating towards a playful vibe that maybe is geared more towards young people or even kids? Or do you have a more sophisticated look that's geared more towards adults? Seriously, write that stuff down. Like, you need a journal and you need to start writing down all the things that really define you as a person and as an artist.
So guys, that's a right now. Write everything down. And here is our mentor right now, Lauren. And we can, notes are here right now. So guys, don't miss it out. Please write it down. And yeah, Lauren, I would have a question here right now. Do you mind?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
So a quick question right now, Lauren. There's a user who wants to ask that how to convert one's design into a printable design.
How to convert? Sorry, can you type in the question? It's a little hard to hear.
Yes,
how to convert?
So Lauren, you can just see the question in the chat right now. By Rashmi Rana IDs, you can see how to convert our design into a printable design.
Yeah, I feel like this question is a little bit vague because I'm not sure if they're asking, are they asking that, is it fine art or are they creating stuff in Photoshop or Illustrator? Like, I'm not quite sure what they mean. Are they printing it? There's different types of prints, like there could be digital prints or screen prints. So I'm not quite sure exactly what the question is.
Is there any umbrella answer regarding that? Just just a quick overview, an umbrella thing, a quick cover up for all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on the technical side, I would say that it needs to be in 300 DPI, which is high resolution for anything that you're printing. But I mean, you can do that in Photoshop or Illustrator. So, yeah.
So yeah, so we have a lot of interesting stuff to learn right now. So here is Lawrence actually.
Okay, yeah. So some of the brands that I'm inspired by, you can see just some of my notes. I wrote down Anthropologie, West Elm, Apartment Therapy, Alfie is a great one for rugs, and I like I kind of like the vibrant colors and modern looks. So if you're familiar with any of my designs or my Instagram, you'll probably recognize that. So step number 2, we'll dive into our color research. So color is also a big part of finding your own art style. So you need to really be serious about your color research. Nothing needs to be set in stone at this point. So I want you to understand that as you're doing this research, this is all flexible and it can all be changed. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I have to have the perfect thing the first time I try this. No, like it's definitely flexible. But you need to start researching colors and recognizing kind of what colors you're inspired by. Finding your own art style is definitely an organic process. You're kind of tapping into your sixth sense or your creativity to ultimately discover yourself or your true nature. So I often find a lot of push and pull when resonating with design styles and color palettes. The two need to be harmonizing beautifully in a way that feels authentic to you. So it's almost like design and color need to get married and you're the matchmaker. So the first step was kind of just, figuring out styles that you're inspired by, and the next step is figuring out colors that you're inspired by. So for your next exercise, I want you to write down qualities of color palettes that you really love. Are you loving colors that are vibrant and energetic? Are you loving more soft pastels and, kind of a quieter vibe? Do you like primary colors? Do you like stark contrast where you feel like there's a lot of contrast in the color palettes? Or maybe are you interested in more rich jewel tones and they have kind of this deeper hue? Or maybe you're into more classic and casual, like the classic blue that the Pantone Color of the Year just came out with is a great example for classic casual. Or maybe warm neutrals. Maybe you're more of a neutral person. So if you don't already have one, definitely keep an art journal like I mentioned. So this is the perfect place for you to write down any notes and color palettes that you love. And it will most likely evolve, so just keeping a consistent journaling practice is important. So don't just write this down one time. I would encourage you to continue, try to write like at least a small paragraph once a day or at least once a week, and kind of see where your art style is taking you. And for anyone who needs to learn more about color, I do have a class on Skillshare called Color Queen, so be sure to check that out as well. So step number 3 is to find artist idols. Sometimes it's known as competitor research, but I use the term competitor loosely just because ultimately every true artist is an original and there is enough space for us all. I really have an abundance mentality, and I think it's really important to keep an abundance mentality, so you don't want to feel jealous or to feel artists, because there is enough space for everyone to be successful. But you need to follow artists that really inspire you and resonate with the type of art that you want to create. So if you want to do figure painting, then find some amazing figure painters to follow on Instagram, Pinterest. If they have a blog, follow their blog, look up their website and pull some inspirations. Start a spreadsheet with columns to keep track of artists in their website, their Instagram, their Facebook, Pinterest. If they have a YouTube channel, that's a great one. And also try to find their email address. See if it's available on their website. And on Instagram, click the Get Notified every time your top 10 inspired artists come out with a new post. So that way you don't miss new posts that all the artists that you're really, really resonating with, you can see every post that they come out with. So here is an example of a spreadsheet that I keep. So these are an artist that I really admire. I have their name over on one side in the category. And so I pulled a few images that I really love of theirs, and I collected some of their information where I can find them online. So journal down recurring characteristics about artists that you're drooling over. Share their work in your Instagram stories and make sure to tag them. So it's good to connect with some of the artists that really inspire you. Give them a compliment. Ask if you can share their work in your Instagram stories. And most artists really appreciate that. You can even DM them on Instagram or shoot them an email and see if they'd be willing to do an Instagram live with you to discuss where they get their inspiration. So if you have a lot of artists that you admire, then you can only learn from them, but you're only going to learn from them if you're able to talk to them and really get more information. So that's one great way that you can try to discuss with them. So I really want to empower you to feel like you can take charge of your own research. Become an investigative art style journalist. Think of yourself as a journalist that's investigating how to find your own art style. Okay, so step number 4 is to start your 90 days of design project. So don't wait. I encourage you to start today. Start your 90 days of design project from day one. And the reason why this project is so important is because you're never going to find your own style if you aren't creating loads and loads and loads of art. So, you can do the research, you can find competitors or, collaborators, if you want to call it that, of artists that you really love. You can research things on Pinterest. But if you aren't actually creating your own art and designs, then that style that you love and that originality is never going to come out of you. So you need to commit to a practice of making art every single day for at least 90 days. And you can use the hashtag 90 days of design and tag me on Instagram at Lauren Lesley Studio, and I will share my favorites in my stories. So some days you might only have the time and energy for just a quick sketch, and that's totally cool. Just get that graphite moving. Just, do something really quick that feels inspiring. And not every day is going to feel super inspired for you. It really helps to get into a routine and to try to be disciplined about this. So for a while, instead of reading, I was actually painting just like these rough watercolor sketches when I got into bed in my sketchbook. So I have a little video here. I don't know if it'll play. Let's see. This is from, let's see if it'll play. Yeah, okay, so this is from my Instagram story. So you can kind of see where I was just doing these rough sketches before I went to sleep at night. And so this is something that you can do that's just really quick, that it's not that hard to just do something every single day. And to help you stay on track, you can publish your work into my Facebook group, which is called the Design Tribe Lauren Lesley Facebook group. And you can do that every single day and use the hashtag 90 days of design.
And Lauren, it will be great actually if you can just share the group's link on the for your audience right now.
Sure, definitely.
Actually, yeah, you can just go to the tab and share the CTA. So guys, here is Lauren, and he's letting us secrets out right now. How to have your own dance, how to have your own art and design style, 90 days. And the key takeaways are always be inspired, always ready to be hustle, and always learn to collaborate with designers. And never ever give up and be consistent, of course. And as Lauren says, write it down.
Yes, write it.
Yeah, definitely.
Down. Okay, for you guys, you will have to answer 3 questions to be able to join, and you also need to provide your email address. So if you don't do all 3 questions, then you will not be admitted, just FYI. But this is what the group looks like. So yeah, I'd love to have you join. Okay, so when you're posting to the Design Tribe Facebook group, it's really no judgment. Oftentimes on Instagram, there's a lot of pressure to be perfect or to only post your very best work. But in a Facebook group, no one is going to be judging you to have a perfect feed. So it's simply just to help you stay accountable, that you're going to post something every day. And it's just helping you stay accountable to your design community. And remember to use the hashtag 90 days of design. Okay, so step number 5 is to try 3 to 5 different mediums. So try 3 to 5 different mediums to see what feels the most natural to you and what you most enjoy. So a lot of times your medium is going to help define your art style. Even if you're a designer, if you like to start out with hand-painted or hand-drawn artwork, you can, scan that in and then finish it in Photoshop or Illustrator. And so I want you to play around with a few different mediums, including it could be watercolors or acrylic paint. You could play with Prismacolor markers. You could play with graphite or charcoal, or you can work digitally and you can try out different brushes. There's a lot of different ways that you can work digitally as well that will contribute to you having your own style. And the first one is to kind of think about whether or not you want to work in vectors or if you want to work in raster images. So Photoshop works in raster, whereas Illustrator works in vector. I always started out in Illustrator and was, always loved Illustrator because you don't have to worry about the resolution. So that's a benefit to working in vector, but you can get more better or more detailed brush effects if you're working like in Photoshop and raster files. So each medium that you master also informs another medium. So it's beneficial for you to hone your craft in at least 2 or 3 mediums. So for example, drawing in pencil will only help you get better at painting and vice versa. So if you're, if you're practicing drawing a lot with in fine art mediums, that's going to help you draw on your iPad. So it all kind of informs each other. So number 6 is to get feedback. So as much as you love your style, part of developing your style does include getting constructive feedback. After all, if you want your art to be a career instead of just a hobby, you need an audience that really responds well to it. You need to be somewhat thinking about, the customer if you want to actually sell your art.
So Lauren, about
So
audience responding, can you just move to questions tab? We have a lot of questions over there. So if you can just have a quick questions, a couple of more questions we have.
Sure.
So there's a question, how to get watercolors digitalized by Luis Perez.
Yeah, so okay, if you're painting in watercolor, then you need a good scanner. And you can scan your watercolors into Photoshop, and then, for example, because I'm doing surface pattern design, I can then I can basically delete the background, so I don't want like the paper background, and I can then rearrange the motifs using the selection tools and create a repeat pattern from that. If your goal is not to create a repeat pattern, it might just be for illustration, something like that. But you need to just make sure that you're scanning in your artwork at a high enough resolution to be the final size that you want it to be used in.
Lauren, there is one more. We have how to make repeat patterns by Alex Peter.
So I have a couple of YouTube videos on how to create repeat patterns. I'd have to show you how to do that step by step. But if you head over to my YouTube channel at Lauren Lesley, there's one video on how to create repeat patterns in Illustrator, and I have another video on how to create repeat patterns in Photoshop. However, the way I do it is I use a tool from Creative Market that you would have to purchase. It's super easy. It just has a bunch of preset actions for you. So yeah, I have 2 videos over on my YouTube channel that you can watch there.
And so, Lauren, on the same note, it will be great if you can share the links with us, with the audience also,
Sure.
so they can go there right now. And so guys, it's really, really good that Lauren is sharing the feedback live with us, and of course sharing the valuable links, so we can go there and make ourselves more enriched and more knowledgeable about design. So let us thank Lauren for this once again.
Okay, so I just sent the link as a call to action for the repeat pattern in Illustrator, and I'll add one more.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Guys, you can check the channel out and make sure you subscribe it, so you can always have updates about Lauren, and you can make yourselves better. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm gonna find the other one for Photoshop as well. Just give me one second.
Yeah, you can save it for the last even, not an issue. We'll all be very, very happy to wait for it, not an issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a guest here right now, a small petite cat of yours, I guess.
Yeah, she likes to teach also.
Definitely.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah. And on those days, one more quick question: that what to do when your creativity is drained?
Yeah, so if you're not feeling, or if you're feeling drained, then I always say to go back to your inspiration research. That's what works for me, is that I always get super energized by finding research and feeling inspired. So sometimes you need to go look for new inspirations if you feel like your creativity is drained, or you might just need to give yourself a break. Like sometimes you're just totally burned out. If you are working in a creative job, you may need like a Saturday or a Sunday to just do nothing for a day and then come back to it the next day. So it's okay to give yourself a break as well. this is the 90 days project, but if you need breaks in between, that's totally fine. The real goal is to create 90 pieces of artwork. So if it takes you a little bit longer than 90 days, that's also okay. Or you might give yourself a break and then create 2 artworks the next day. That's totally fine as well. So yeah, I would suggest giving yourself a break and then researching new inspiration for that.
Definitely, Lauren. So here we have a slide from Lauren. If you want to have a career in art, you need to have that response to it well. And now we are ready to go ahead. Lauren, can I help you with something?
Oh, I'm still looking for that other YouTube video, but I'm not seeing it for some reason. I don't know why. Okay.
We can say it for the last, not an issue. Yeah, we can say it for the last. Later to the audience. Not an issue.
Okay, yeah. We'll just dive back into the presentation. You guys can find it on you should be able to find it on my YouTube channel. It's the same channel, so it's not catching my eye. Okay, so yeah, if you want your art to be a career instead of just a hobby, obviously that you need to be able to sell, and you need an audience that also responds well to your art style. So, kind of having your audience's input or seeing how people are responding to your artwork is also a factor in helping to develop your own art style. So each day that you post your 90 days of design project in the Design Tribe Facebook group, make sure to ask for feedback. Or not. If you're like, I know this is just a quick sketch, then you might not need feedback. But if you have a finished piece, then definitely ask for feedback from the community. The group is here to help you, so just make sure to use it to your advantage. So here's another shot of the Design Tribe Facebook group if you'd like to join. And step number 7 is to group your work into collections. So once you get to day 30 of your 90 days of design project, or it's either day 30 or number 30 in your, oh gosh. Sorry, hold on. Sorry, guys, a little technical difficulty with my cat. Okay, so once you get into day 30 or number 30 of your 90 days of design project, start grouping your designs and art into collections. So imagine them sitting together in a gallery or on a shelf of products that all coordinate beautifully. So you might want to drop your designs or artwork into a mock-up group. This is one of the best ways to see if your designs work well together on actual products. So if you're creating drawings, paintings, or sculptures, you could maybe sketch out a gallery scene and place your work in the scene and see if it looks good together. This is just a little sketch mock-up that I did so I could drop my patterns in and see if this all looked good together and the patterns coordinated together in this scene. So from there, you want to go back and go to your art journal and write down the resounding characteristics that you like about your collection. Are there motifs in your designs that you want to repeat? Is there anything that maybe you don't like about what you did and you want to avoid doing in your next round? You could also write that down. Is there maybe a brush technique or a line quality that is working really, really well? Make sure to note it and continue it in your next art making session. So you'll want to group your collections 3 different times. So you'll want to group your collections when you have 30 days of work. Then you want to regroup everything at 60 days of work, and then regroup everything again into collections at 90 days of work. So guess what? I have an assignment for you to make sure that you are putting into everything that you just learned into action. But before we dive into your assignment, let's dive into your bonuses, and remember to tell all of your friends about this webinar, and don't forget to join the Design Tribe Facebook group if you are a designer. Okay, so let's dive into some of the bonuses. So I've put together an ultimate 2020 trend guide for you guys that's literally over 70 pages. And do you want to know the very best part? It's free. It's totally free for you guys. So you can go over to my website here, and I'll put that as a call to action as well. But you can sign up to get the trend guide on my homepage. But I do ask that you share it on social media to be able to get a free copy. So if you type in your name and email address, you will get instructions for that. And I will put the call to action in right now so that if anyone wants a copy of the trend guide, you can go ahead and get that. Okay, so now the 2020 trend guide is up. It's just taking you to my homepage on my website there. So you can sign up in the box, and you'll get instructions to share on social media to get your copy of the free trend guide.
It's so good that you're sharing so much knowledge with us in terms of links, videos, presentations. We are in for a lucky night, I guess, today.
Yeah, so okay, so I mentioned this, but in exchange for the trend guide, I do ask that you share it on social media, and you'll receive more instructions when you sign up. And I will personally reply to each person and give you a copy of the trend guide. And my next bonus is the Art Style Challenge. So you can also sign up on my website here for the Art Style Challenge. It's at laurenlesley.com/challenge, and you will get an email every single week to do your 90 days of design project. So it actually gives you prompts, and also gives you like a trend board as well. So I will share that as well in the call to action. So the challenge does go live. The challenge does go live June 1st. It was started June 1st, but it's on Evergreen. So this challenge was done over the summer of last year, but you can do it at any time. So it's on Evergreen. You can sign up and do it at your own pace. And I will be hosting another art style challenge this summer as well. I haven't totally decided all of the details of how it will run yet, if it'll be free like this one, or if it'll maybe be a class. But yeah, so just to let you guys know about that, the one from last year is free, and you can sign up for that right now. So yeah, the new one starts on June 1st. Okay, and your assignment for today is to get an art journal, like we mentioned, like we talked about. Go do your design and color research and write down repeat characteristics that you really love. Envision and write out how you see yourself as a successful artist. And what I mean by this is I want you to write down in your journal and really let your imagination fly and say things like, I want you to write down in the present tense as if it's already happening. So I want you to say things like, I'm going to my art opening tonight, or I'm walking into Anthropologie and I see my designs on products, you know, and really describe how it makes you feel, because really anything is possible, and part of making your dreams come true is just being able to believe in them in the first place. So that's a really great journaling practice to keep. So, you know, the next step is to follow artists that inspire you and create a spreadsheet or an ongoing list and try to contact them and ask them about their process.
So Laura, on the same lines of asking questions, we have a couple of more questions over here.
Sure.
So one is, what's your advice for someone who just started using Procreate?
Yeah, I love Procreate. I just started using it myself back in May, I believe. So yeah, I love Procreate, but I think that Procreate is a great drawing tool. So if you like really like to draw your own patterns or designs, then Procreate is a really great tool. I would try to look at other artists that are also using Procreate. If you're on Skillshare, then you can see a lot of classes that show artists using Procreate. I feel like a lot of artists on Skillshare use their iPad and do a lot of tutorials on their iPad. So that's a great place to learn. You can also look on YouTube videos. You can just research it yourself and try to find some good examples of how to use Procreate. But I use it for a lot of drawing. And then what I do is I export that file into Photoshop and I finish it off as a repeat pattern in Photoshop. It's just easier to use Photoshop for the more technical stuff. But yeah, I love to draw motifs and play with color palettes and things like that in Procreate.
And Lauren, one more question before we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So how many topics do you choose for making a coherent pattern design collection? I mean, do you choose many topics? And that's a question by Luis once again.
Okay, so how many topics do I choose? It really depends. I would say I try to work in collections. And so a collection could be anything from 10 to 20 designs. I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific number. It could be anything around there. But I try to, create a topic or a inspiration that I'm really loving. So if you download my trend guide, it's over 70 pages. So that's probably going to be too many trends for every artist to create a meaningful collection around. So I would say to choose your top 5 and then try to create 10 to 15 designs per trend. So that's how I go about my projects.
Yeah, that's very insightful, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
And we can move, can't wait to go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, so start your 90 days of design project. Make art every single day for 90 days, or at least create 90 pieces of artwork or designs, and try 3 to 5 different mediums. Post your work daily to the Design Tribe Facebook group to help keep yourself on track and to keep yourself accountable to the project. And group your work into collections at the following intervals. So once you have 30 days of work, group it into collections. Once you have 60 days of work, group it into collections. And once you have 90 days of work, group it into collections. And you'll start to see what'll happen is when you have 90 pieces of artwork, you'll start to see things that really go together and really coordinate well together like a little art family, okay? And then you might see some outliers. You might see something that doesn't fit in the collection, and that's a good indicator that that's not really where your art style is going. You want to find recurring characteristics within your 90 pieces of work. So at 30 days, try to find those characteristics. At 60 days, try to find those characteristics. And at 90 days, try to see like what are you creating over and over again that you really love. That's what's really going to help you determine your own art style. So we're ready for the Q&A. So if anyone else has a question, please leave a comment.
So we are expecting a lot of questions, Lauren, right now. But I'm really curious about something. That what was your biggest hurdle that you started this journey, and how did you overcome it? What was your biggest hurdle, your roadblock, your arcs, which you conquered?
That's a really good question. I think trying to figure out that textile design was the right path for me was probably the biggest hurdle early on, because I knew I wanted to be creative, right? You saw the picture of me when I was a little girl. I've always been creative. I've always been an artist. And I knew from day one in college that I wanted to be an art major, but I didn't quite know how to make money from that. And I didn't really want to become a college professor or a school teacher. So it was hard for me at first. I thought, okay, well, maybe graphic design is the best thing that I can do to like kind of stay creative. But honestly, I didn't really love graphic design. And so figuring out the path as a textile designer was probably the biggest hurdle, but I did figure it out because I didn't give up and I didn't quit and I stayed curious. I think that's a big thing, is to stay curious, kind of see what other people are doing. Y'all, we're living in an amazing, amazing time because we have the internet. Like, how amazing is it that I can talk to you guys right now from across the world? Like, I mean, it's incredible. So don't take that for granted. Like, 50 years ago, this would not be possible. So you have access to so much information. You have access to so much creativity, and you can just study it. Okay, so I think that one of the biggest hurdles can be mental. I think, believing that you can do it, having the patience, feeling like maybe like it comes with talent. I think that a lot of people think that someone's art style is all about talent, and that's not true. There's a little bit of talent involved, but I would say it's probably 10% talent and 90% hard work and consistency. You have to keep that consistent practice. You have to have that discipline and be in a routine to continue to create artwork. And then you also have to be patient, right? Like, you will see an art style after 90 days, but it might not be your best art style. You might need to do the project again next year and, you know, the next year, and you're going to always be evolving. You're always going to be improving the more and more and more you create. So I think, you know, I think that seeing really quote unquote talented designers can be discouraging to artists. Like, that's the one thing that we, you know, we do have the internet, and it's incredible that we have access to all of this, but it is easy to get into the comparison game and think, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so. But what you have to remember is that person didn't start out that way. They did a lot of hard work to be able to get that good, okay? And so I think just trusting in yourself that if you do the work, if you stay consistent and you have some patience, you will get there.
So guys, that was a very, very, very modern, very philosophical answer regarding, how to stay positive all the time. And we should be very, very, selective in what do we absorb in also, because everyone has different journey, different roadblocks, different hurdles, and ultimately we all raise the same goal of being happy.
Right.
So now let's move to the real part, the money part over here. We have a couple of questions which ask how to earn more money as a pattern designer and how to approach a potential client. So we can have a club dancer together. So how to give them an overview that how to get client, how to build a network, and how to earn more money and how to use it again for the business.
Okay, how to earn more how to earn more money as a pattern designer. I see that question. And what's the other one?
How to approach a potential client.
How to launch a product line. Okay,
how
so
to approach a potential client. How to get more clients right now for a business.
How to get more clients. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my first advice might not be very popular advice, but if you've never worked for a company as a textile designer or an illustrator or whatever field you're trying to get into, I would really recommend working for a company first, because you learn so much on the job and you're actually getting paid when you're working there, and you're getting an education as well. So you can see, what does my boss do? How is my boss getting clients? How does he talk to clients? How does he maintain that relationship, he or she, whoever it is? And so I think that if you haven't, I see a lot of times online is that people want to get into surface pattern design, but they've never worked for a company. They've never worked as a textile designer for a company. And so that's my first piece of advice, is to work for a company first. In the education and a good education in this industry. And so when I went to Blueprint, I had a pretty easy time talking to clients, but one great way to find clients is to go to a trade show. And it is an investment. It takes a lot of upfront costs, and any business, if you're starting your own business, businesses cost money in the beginning before they can start making money. So I would save money if you want to go out on your own, and save enough money to go to a trade show, take your designs. You have to have a good body of work, but the 90-day project should be able to get you there. And you're going to meet so many clients at a trade show because they're all attending the show already. So it is the fastest way to meet clients. You can also try to cold call or cold email clients, but that is a much longer, harder path. And I think it is so much easier to go to a trade show to find clients. And if you're trying to get into art licensing, another route that you can go is to sign up with an agency. And so what an agency will do is that they already have relationships with all of the clients. They'll present your work, but they do generally take about 50% of the royalty. So you have to decide if that's worth it for you. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Lauren, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So Lauren, basically what we can say, there are three takeaways right now. That first, you should work in a company, so you can actually have a know-how knowledge of how actually companies work, so you can groom yourself better. In a way, you should find yourself a mentor. So
Yeah,
and secondly, you have to network. So go to trade shows and all, and do not be scared of investing a little bit money in your business.
right.
Before you have to invest a little bit before they start paying you back.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So one thing, Lauren, when we start as an artist, we try to go global. So how to adapt our art styles and everything to global taste? How do you do it? So we can have reach throughout the globe across borders as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's an interesting question because I think that there is power in actually being niched down. So if you have a more specific niche or niche, then that is going to help you. If you try to do everything for everyone, then no one will recognize you. You won't be known for anything, and it's going to be harder for clients to work with you. And so the idea of going global, I would say, is still you need to niche down. So whether your niche is, hey, I want to design things for the outdoor market, that's going to really help establish you. It helps establish your style, and it also helps clients understand, okay, if I need something or some designs for my outdoor products, I'm going to go to this person, right? So that could be true across a lot of different markets. However, like sometimes styles are going to be different. Like sometimes if you're trying to get into Walmart, that's going to be a very different style than Target. But the U.S. as a whole market is going to be different than the European market. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a good goal to have, honestly, to try to be global right away. I think that it's a better goal to have a specific thing that you feel like you can focus on and accomplish. That's going to be a little bit of a faster goal to accomplish. And I don't know, I think just having a niche is really important. Yeah, I don't know. I think going global, is there an example that you're thinking of that's of someone who's like a global designer that, I mean, any designer I think of, they have a very specific look, right? Which is what this presentation is all about. So for example, if you're familiar with Orla Keeley, she has a very kind of retro style. And that style is not going to appeal to everyone. And that's okay. She's still a famous artist and she's doing very well for herself. So if she has her products licensed or her designs licensed in different industries and on different products, but she got specific with her style, right? And like, not everyone is going to buy it. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but it appealed to enough people that like that style, that she was very successful.
So basically, what you're trying to say is you have to be very, very specific in what audience you want to cater, so you can reap the benefits of your arts fully, rather
Yes.
than spending your butter too thin right now.
Yes, totally agree.
So Louise is back with a question once again. His collection is going to be shown at a trade show in Jan through an agent. So he's wondering right now that will it be better for him to go out for the next trade show alone? So he wants to go solo after trying for one time. So what do you say about that?
Okay, my collection is going to be shown at a trade show in January through an agent as it's my first time. Do you think for the next trade show it would be better to go on my own? Do you not have a contract with your agent? For me, I am also working with an agent, but I signed a contract for 2 years. So I mean, it really just depends on how you want to work. And I think that most artists end up signing with an agent because they don't want to do the selling part, right? And the agent already has or should already have those relationships with the retailers and manufacturers so that you don't have to do that part of the business deal. They do the legal, they do the contracts, and they do the selling. So that lets you focus on creating more designs and more artwork. So like that's why most artists choose to go with an agent. Some artists don't want to do that. They don't want to split the royalty 50%. And so they say, it's okay, like I'll do my own selling. So I think it really just depends on how you want to work. Sorry, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute or something.
Yeah. So Lauren, here we are right now, and we have around 7 minutes left.
Okay.
So let's have a really quick run through about everything, and then we can go ahead with some details if you want to even.
Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much all I have. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Lauren Lesley Studio. And I also have a podcast that I'd love for you to listen to on, you can listen on iTunes or Spotify, and it's just called The Design Tribe. And thank you so much. That is everything for my presentation today. And is there anything else that you'd like to add? Oops. Let's see.
So guys, here we are. Here we are, and we are nearly done with the webinar right now with Lauren. And the people who have attended the webinar and those who haven't even not attended the webinar, we will share the links with you guys on your mail. And Lauren, once again, thank you so much for your time and coming back to us once again.
Of
And we
course.
and we look forward to host more things, such as more these sessions with you again and again. And guys, there might be a surprise for you very soon because Design and Print Shop are coming up with some brand new resource for you, maybe with Lauren, maybe not. So it will be a surprise for you, and we'll be getting the same. Okay.
Awesome.
So Lauren, it was
Thank
nice talking to
you.
you, and it's
Yeah,
so amazing.
wonderful talking to you.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. And
Everybody have a wonderful day.
yeah, we have a whole team here actually right now. They're saying you very goodbye.
Okay, goodbye, guys.
Yeah. Bye, Lauren. It was
Bye,
nice
guys.
talking.
Yeah, you
Bye bye.
too.